This week on Goofing Off,
I go onward with movie snobs.
Colin has us battle it out between Skyrim and The Witcher 3.
Nick shows us how to save more money with Lena's adventure.
All this and more on Goofing Off.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Goofing Off. I'm Caleb Morgan.
And I'm Becca Tyler. Okay, hold on. Wait. Just because you're Juan's favorite now doesn't mean you get to just start the host bits.
What are you talking about?
I've seen Juan's face when he watches you host. His face lights up, and I know that I've taught you so much, so well, but this is too much.
Juan's face also lights up whenever he sees Drew, and Anamanga is up next.
Oh, that was a flawless transition. I'm gonna kill you.
Take it to the segment, please. Please?
Hey everyone, I'm Drew Brown, and it looks like we're in for another episode of Anamanga. What am I reviewing today, you may ask? Well, I wrote The Maids on the back of my hand, so I guess let's get on with the review. Here's The Maids. A maid is someone whose occupation is to work within someone's household, typically cooking, cleaning, or doing other menial tasks for someone and staying in their home. The maid in the way you're probably thinking of, with the black and white frilly dress and motherly demeanor, was very popular in the Victorian era, which lasted from June 20th, 1837, until Queen Victoria passed away on January 22nd, 1901. Maids are often... Wait, what? I'm not reviewing maids in general? I'm reviewing an anime about maids? Well, what show is it? Yeah, alright. I get it now. Let's actually get this review of And Yet the Town Moves on the road. And Yet the Town Moves is a show centered around a girl named Hotori Arashiyama. She's kind of airheaded and clumsy, but very well expressive, you could say. She and her friend Toshiko Tatsuno work in this maid cafe called Seaside, where they get into all kinds of trouble. I guess they also get into all kinds of trouble outside of the cafe, but we'll get to that in a second. There's also the head maid, an old lady that has owned the cafe for years. Sanada, Tatsuno's crush and crusher of Arashiyama, and a bunch of others that come and go as well. The town moves. I like this show a lot because from the beginning, the show is not only about Arashiyama and her goofy adventures, it's about her influence on the town and the townspeople in general. There are a handful of episodes that center around the other characters from the town, like Arashiyama's family, her math teacher, or Tatsuno, that show just how much the town, moves, and Arashiyama's influence on that movement. This comes to play especially in the final episode, which I won't spoil, but it is definitely one of those final episodes that makes you unexpectedly feel kind of sad in a stark contrast to how funny the show is in general. It's a great cap for the show, and in my opinion, probably the best cap the show could have gotten. I have a soft spot for anime and media in general that not only center around a group of characters, but a setting as well. Deadly Premonition, Twin Peaks, JoJo Part 4, and Persona 4 are amongst some of my favorites that fit this bill. It's so intriguing when a story is able to make a setting of a story almost seem like a character of its own. It's great to see how Arashiyama and the others interact with this other character. Like when she shows her little brother what it's like to stay out past midnight, or when the other town's members come into the cafe and cause a ruckus. I think And Yet the Town Moves definitely has a great dynamic with how the cast interacts with the town, and that's one of my favorite things about the show. You might think the show is some sort of adventure or mystery, and you're kind of right in a loose sense. This show is mainly a comedy that's episodic in nature, meaning the episodes don't really have a sort of continuity between one another. Now don't be discouraged though because the show is a comedy or something, because it's funny. This show has some of the funniest moments in anime that keep me laughing until the very end. The overdramatic presentation of everything and how the characters interact in the fast-paced direction only enhance the jokes tenfold, and it's all because of good old Shaft. Remember when you were watching Bakemonogatari or Madoka Magica and thought, this is cool and all, but what if Madoka and the gang were all maids and just kind of vibe together and it was funny instead of, Madoka? Well, good news for you, Chief, and Yet the Town Moves is a Studio Shaft production, and it shows. There's weird zooms, Japanese wordplay, fast cuts, and even the trademark Shaft head tilt. I'd go so far to say that if it wasn't for the fast-paced direction Shaft provides, this show wouldn't hit half as hard as it did. A lot of the writing works hand in hand with the direction and animation that Studio Shaft is known for. The best examples of this are the scenes with the math teacher, Moriaki. All of his scenes are always highly dramatic, and his voice actor, known for Joseph Joestar himself, absolutely nails the delivery of each line he says and makes each episode or scene he's in really make me laugh. That isn't to say that there isn't thought-provoking, serious moments as well. Almost every episode starts with narration about a concept having to do with life. A few presented our love, the passage of time, and even, as the show calls it, lost technologies. Each episode ties in with the theme that is presented at the beginning by the narration and is tied up nicely again by the narration at the end. It's like experiencing a nice meal, where you start and end perfectly, but everything in between is nice as well. Like Monogatari, there's a lot to unpack in each episode, which is why I rewatched it before reviewing it. Well, maybe not as much as Monogatari, but for a show of this nature, there definitely is a lot to unpack. I'd also like to point out that the ending and especially the opening are a couple of my favorites in anime, period. The song choice and the overall presentation is so charming and fun that it just makes me smile every time I see them. They have such a goofy feel to them while also being really well made and just fun to watch, which in essence is what a good OP and ED should be. Another thing I like about this show is that it isn't afraid to kind of go off the rails in a setting that seems so grounded. There's plot lines that revolve around aliens, ghosts, and other things like cursed artifacts or even time travel. Again, these strange themes aren't overbearing at all, and in general make for a really funny episode. It doesn't feel too absurd in this universe that there's aliens walking around or ghosts just chilling. I think that also has to do with how overly dramatic the cast can be, and again, the direction and exaggerated animation style of Studio Shaft. The cast seems so strange and outlandish themselves that paranormal activity is just another oddity to add to the world. And Yet the Town Moves may not be an anime staple like Monogatari or Madoka Magica, but I seriously think that it's a hidden gem that many look over from Shaft. It still has just as much Shaft charm as Monogatari, and the writing is top notch. The only thing I noticed that could be considered a criticism is that a lot of the humor relies on Japanese wordplay or culture in general. However, if you've watched Monogatari or shows with a similar style, I don't think you'll have much trouble with this one. The Japanese inside humor isn't enough to make the show not funny. Sometimes you just have to pause and read the translator's notes to see what they're saying. And Yet the Town Moves originated as a manga by Masakazu Ishiguro in 2005 and consists of 16 volumes. It was adapted into animation by Studio Shaft in 2010 and was directed by Akuyuki Shinbo. It's a fantastic series that I recommend to anyone who likes comedy and slice of life with an interesting and innovative type of direction. Trust me, it's definitely one of anime's best hidden gems. Well, fellas, that's a wrap on episode 3 of Animanga. Anything you'd like me to review? Want to complain about how I've really only done slice of life anime so far? Send a pure, frank, and maid-like tweet to ZTV Goofing Off with the hashtag Animanga. Until next time.
メイド清く正しく潔くシーサイドは絶賛営業中メイドありがとうございます
You know, Nick has been doing Games on a Budget for 2 episodes now. And, I mean, I gotta say, he is not living up to the show's name. I'm sorry.
Caleb, I don't think that this is the best time or place to be saying this sort of stuff right now.
I thought that too, but Becca, someone has to say it.
I mean, I like it. He's talking about Lena's adventure this time. That should be pretty cool, right?
He hasn't rented a single car on the program, and he definitely hasn't played a game on top of Budget Rent-A-Car. And frankly, I think that's pretty unacceptable that he would lie like that on a program.
Oh, Caleb, we have a lot to talk about.
Hi everybody, I'm Nick McFadden, and this is Games on a Budget, the show where I review games with a price tag under $10 in hopes of providing you money-savvy gamers with a few recommendations. Today I'll be reviewing the open-world adventure developed by Bitten Studios, Leanne's Inception. The story opens up in a classroom of young adventurers. You play as their adventuring teacher, Leanna. Once you wander outside of your schoolhouse, the graphics begin to glitch around your building, trapping your students inside. After you are woken up by a chicken, you follow that chicken to a cave and things get gruesome, as the village elder is found dead in a cave. After a very interesting and unique tutorial, you are turned loose into the open world and begin your mission to free your students. The world that you play in is procedurally generated and will be different for every player. No two playthroughs will be alike, which grants this game a superb amount of replayability. There are also 11 different game modes that you can play. I mainly played the story mode, but in this game there is also a dungeon crawl mode, reduced health modes, modified weapon modes, and so much more. In the open world you will find enemies, shopkeepers, important landmarks, and dungeons. This game is very fluid with transitions from one area to the next, which makes for seamless gameplay. As you clean out enemies and move throughout the world, you will gather various items to help you out on your adventure. One of my favorite aspects of this game is you do not know what a potion does until you try them. This adds a unique element of risk and surprise to this game. For instance, in a dungeon crawl, I was fighting a boss and drank a fizzy red potion in hopes that would be a healing potion. Instead, it was a potion of blast protection and I died a horrible death. This world also has a lot of random NPCs running around. Their dialogue is fairly diverse. It's nothing crazy, but it's enough to keep you entertained every time you make the effort to interact with an NPC. The shopkeepers are pretty standard and offer an array of potions and other adventuring items. Combat is a huge part of this game, and overall, it's pretty fun. It starts super simple with just a sword, but as you progress through the game, you are given new abilities and items such as fire, lassos, bows, and shields. This helps keep combat interesting. Though new abilities keep it fresh, it can still get a little repetitive. There is not a lot of diversity in the enemies you will fight, and this makes combat dull at times. Though regular enemies are not the most interesting, the boss battles more than make up for it. The bosses are found at the end of dungeons, and each one requires a different skill set to be beaten. The skills you use to beat the boss will usually be unlocked in the same dungeon. The most memorable boss battle for me was the dolphin boss in level 3. After each boss battle, you will increase your max HP and gain access to a memory. These memories all have to do with the story, so I won't spoil too much, but I will say the story is fairly interesting. The story adds a lot of good backstory to the bosses and important NPCs. When it comes to NPCs, the most memorable by far was the evil banker. As far as the soundtrack is concerned, this one's okay. It does its job setting the mood for different encounters, but it's nothing special. The graphics in this game, however, are very well done, and it's worth mentioning that you can choose to play in two different styles. There's an 8-bit mode and a 32-bit mode. The ending to this game depends on your actions in the several dungeons that precede the final one. There are 3 possible endings, all of which leave you satisfied. When it comes down to it, Leanne's Inception is a fun adventure with interesting dungeons and memorable bosses. Right now on Steam, this game is $9.99, so if you're starving for a good adventure, I recommend picking this up. Do you have any cheap games for me to review? If so, tweet me at ZTV Goofing Off using the hashtag GoAb. Until next time, I'm Nick McFadden.
Becca, it's not my fault that Juan likes me better as a goof host. You just trained me too well.
That doesn't help me here, Caleb. You know what? No, we're just... You and me just need to take a break. I don't know if I can be around you right now.
Okay, that being said, we'll be right back after this.
Man, I really did train you too well, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like what you see here on Goofing Off, be sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Lights Camera Akron. Happy Halloween everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Lights Camera Akron. Happy Thanksgiving everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Lights Camera Akron.
Hey guys, it's Kedley Stanley here, reporting for Lights Camera Akron.
Hello everyone, my name is Caleb Morgan and I'm with Lights Camera Akron.
Hey LCA fans, this is Michael Macon with Lights Camera Akron.
Reporting from Quaker Square, I'm Aquan James with ZTV's Lights Camera Akron.
Thanks for watching Lights Camera Akron.
You're watching ZTV.
So, Becca, if you were to choose, would you rather toss a coin for your Witcher or for your Dragonborn?
You know, Caleb, I really can't bring myself to answer that question right now. Because I really can't choose between the two, because Skyrim is such a great role-playing game with so much character flexibility in the story, but The Witcher has such amazing
Becca, save it for Colin. He's on Face Off. He's covering Skyrim versus The Witcher 3. Up next.
I am going to unrelenting force you off of this set if you interrupt me like that one more time.
Hey fellas, this is Colin and you're watching Face Off, where I compare and contrast any two games that are vaguely connected to each other, and I decide which one is superior. And for this episode, I'll be looking at two RPGs set in medieval backdrops, CD Projekt Red's The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and Skyrim, the fifth entry in Bethesda's Elder Scrolls franchise. Both are widely acclaimed and highly beloved by critics and fans alike, and despite some obvious surface similarities, they're fundamentally different games and offer vastly different experiences. Both are generally hailed for being touchstones for fantasy RPGs, but as the format of this segment suggests, only one can be deemed superior. CD Projekt Red began working on the Witcher franchise after reaching a deal with Polish author Andrzej Sapkowski to adapt his works into video games with the condition that nothing they made would be considered canon alongside his novels. And with that, CD Projekt Red released the first game in the trilogy in 2007, which was also the first game the studio had ever made, and it showed with the visuals and mechanics being primitive even for that time. They would improve in all fronts with the sequel that came out 4 years later, and with this success, the studio set out to make their magnum opus with The Witcher 3, a game they hoped would be a new standard bearer of sorts, and some might say they succeeded. The Witcher 3 was released in 2015 to wide acclaim, and still sells at a high clip to this day thanks in large part to the recent success of the Netflix TV show that's also based on Andrzej Sapkowski's Witcher novels, and just general good word of mouth. It was clear to many that CD Projekt Red had made something special with The Witcher 3, and it was a result of something that was lovingly and painstakingly crafted by a studio that clearly adored the source material. In the first two games, Geralt comes down from a major case of amnesia, which served as a clever way to introduce this world to players who may not have been familiar with the novels it was based on. In The Witcher 3, Geralt has regained all of his memories, and it pretty much carries on from the events of the last novel, The Lady of the Lake. Despite this, the game and all of its lore still feels accessible to players who are not only aware of the novels, but also haven't played the first two games. You quickly get a sense of what kind of character Geralt is, a former human who's been mutated into a Witcher, people whose job is to accept contracts to kill monsters, but as the number of monsters start to dwindle, the obsolescence of Witchers begins to rise, and so begins the public animosity towards them. Anyways, Geralt is tasked by Emperor Emir var Emreis to find his daughter Ciri, who Geralt also considers a daughter of sorts. Meanwhile, Ciri is being chased down by the Wild Hunt, a group of otherworldly elves who want Ciri for her elder blood, which allows her to travel between different dimensions. Before this happens, Geralt must travel the lands of Belin, Novigrad, and Skellige, and search for his dear Ciri amongst a backdrop of war between struggling northern kingdoms and a southern empire that threatens to take over the whole continent. The Witcher 3 is different from other fantasy RPGs in that you don't really get to customize your protagonist beyond some of his abilities that you can choose to upgrade. You're strictly role-playing as Geralt, whose appearance and backstory is already established. But on the same token, Geralt isn't a blank slate like many other RPG protagonists. He has depth and is as equally flawed as he is virtuous while living in a world that doesn't have room for moral exclusivity. You make choices between lesser and greater evils. There isn't any choices in which you can either build an orphanage or kick a puppy. Sometimes in particular, you make a choice where you offer a struggling patient some medication that comes with its own set of risks. You find out later that the medication helped, but it left her in a vegetative state, and you wonder if it would have been better to let her die with some dignity. Another example involves the Bloody Baron and his wife, who is suffering an eternal servitude to the local witches of the woods, the crones of Crookback Bog. Geralt is tasked with killing a local spirit named the Whispering Hillock by the crones, and you're given the choice of either killing or sparing the tree spirit. Killing the tree spirit allows the Baron's wife to be freed from her servitude, but it also results in the orphans being sacrificed to the crones. Sparing the tree spirit saves the children, but then the wife gets punished and remains in servitude. Almost every choice is bittersweet and brings about terrible consequences, and that's because the world of The Witcher 3 is non-binary, in which the lines between evil and virtuous are always blurred. It's cliched to say that the world of The Witcher resembles our own non-binary world, but The Witcher 3 pulls it off, plain and simple. The gameplay, despite its slow combat, also offers a lot of depth, as you're given several ways to deal with enemies, whether it's the runes that you can use to upgrade your swords, or the Witcher signs you can deploy to give yourself an advantage. There's also a ton of strategy involved, especially when you take on contracts. The narrative is where The Witcher 3 shines most, especially the side quests that are given almost as much attention as the main campaign itself. Although they're entirely optional, fulfilling these quests is almost always rewarding, since many of them are integral to the main campaign, and some affect some of the bigger events within the main narrative, such as the side quests involving Ceres and Hjalmar, that play a role in deciding which one of them gets to be king or queen of Skellige, or the last switch with Yennefer where you can dispel the charm that binds Geralt and Yennefer together, and then they decide if they really love each other after all. With all of that being said, the main narrative certainly holds its own ground as it wraps up the whole Witcher saga in an ending that's even more satisfying than the books. While the story never branches further than the search for Ciri, every stop along the way proves as intriguing as the last, whether you're sorting out the domestic life of the Bloody Baron, navigating the criminal underworld of Novigrad while assisting mages who are escaping a citywide manhunt set in motion by the events of The Witcher 2, or settling royal disputes in Skellige. And along the way you can explore beautifully realized open worlds that are split into 3 separate maps. Calling The Witcher 3 an achievement would be a massive understatement, and it definitely deserves its place as one of the hallmarks of the 2010s in gaming, but so does a certain other fantasy RPG released in 2011. Enough has been said about Skyrim over the past 8.5 years since its release about the imaginative open world, the level of interaction with the environments, and the sprawl of side quests that often come at the expense of its main campaign. In fact, this can be said about a lot of Bethesda games, and it's become overstated to the point where it simply goes without saying. One thing that can be said about Skyrim as opposed to The Witcher 3 is that it strikes a tone early and allows you to become enveloped within its world much faster than The Witcher 3 ever does. You're taken prisoner by a band of Imperials, and right before your head gets hacked off, a dragon interrupts the execution ceremony, and you flee with the faction of your choice before being given a quest to seek the Greybeards on the summit of Mount Anthor, where you learn that you are Dragonborn, mortals who are blessed by the blood and soul of a dragon, and you can absorb the souls of other dragons and use their shouts or thumes to your liking. Once all of that is out of the way, the world becomes your oyster, and you can easily sink days, weeks, months, and years combing through every inch of Skyrim and all of the side quests and loot it has to offer. In fact, you're practically encouraged to ignore the main narrative entirely, given the fact that there's literally too much to do throughout the map. Why waste time with the main story when you can spend hours planting baskets on top of shopkeepers' heads so that you can loot their whole store? And the best thing about Skyrim's open world is that none of it feels random. It almost feels like Arthurian legend in the sense that you're guaranteed to find adventure whenever you roam the wilderness. It's what makes it worth examining and exploring every inch of it. And the dense lore that comes with Skyrim in every Elder Scrolls game is enough to satisfy any high fantasy fan who bothers sifting through all of it. And settling your own conflicts while finding yourself embroiled within a civil war while on the lookout for dragons around every corner is never short of astounding. It's just a shame that we have to navigate this whole game as a blank slate of a character. While it's nice that you can choose different species, names, and classes, your character always manages to feel impersonal as a result. And it doesn't help matters that we often only hear one side of each conversation, as we're limited to hearing everyone's response to our chosen dialogue option. While The Witcher 3 offers more authentic and realistic interactions between characters, and as a result their relationships seem much more organic. Building intriguing and organic relationships in Skyrim is practically an impossibility, and it doesn't help that none of the relationships you build really factor much in the game's ending, as it feels rather impersonal to nearly every event that took place beforehand. The Witcher 3 really benefits from choices and the relationships you build that actually affect the ending of the main campaign. And enough can't be said about the uniform environments that can really only be saved by mods to give some of the elements more texture and color. And also the clunky combat that seems entirely primitive compared to the choreography of the combat in The Witcher 3, where Geralt is seen dancing and pirouetting between enemies, and striking blows that seem to resemble how someone might actually swing a sword. If you can't tell already, this isn't really a contest. The Witcher 3 wins. The Witcher 3 has better combat, coded environments with more dynamic color palettes, weather systems, and civilizations that come to life as opposed to the disparate villages separated throughout Skyrim. And the one clear advantage that The Witcher 3 has over Skyrim is its protagonist Geralt of Rivia. Unlike Skyrim, Geralt isn't a blank slate, and despite the lack of customizing options, role-playing as a character with an actual personality proves as a more rewarding experience than playing as a blank slate could ever be. Thanks for watching Face Off. Feel free to hit the like button down below, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Twitter at ZTV Goofing Off. See ya!
So, Caleb, why do you think you're Juan's favorite?
I mean, well, for starters, I'm definitely funnier than you.
I can't believe you are attacking my life's work like this. That's it! I'm done!
I didn't mean it. We'll be right back after this break, I hope.
If you like what you see here on Goofing Off, be sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter.
You're watching ZTV.
Juan, this time, Z Trivia is all for you, buddy. You teach a Star Wars class, and now you get to watch some Star Wars trivia. Enjoy it, man. Love you.
Stop it! I've never seen someone pander so much. It's honestly so hard to watch.
Becca, I don't really know what you're talking about. So, oh, also, Juan, if you need help cooking dinner tomorrow, I can bring you anything you want. It's flu season. Do you need soup? I got you. Man.
I really can't watch this. Just take the segment. Take the segment.
Oh, Juan, guess what? See, Star Wars, like the movie. Do you want it? I'll give it to you.
Hello everyone, I'm Mitchell Waltz, and welcome back to ZT Trivia, everyone's favorite trivia game show. I'm very excited for today's show because our contestants will be going head-to-head against the hardest Star Wars trivia I could find. And our contestants taking on the challenge today are Colin on my left and Matt on my right. How do you guys think you do against this Star Wars trivia?
I like to think I know a lot about Star Wars, but if I learned anything about being on this show last time is that I don't know as much as I think I know, so it's true. How about you?
I'm not gonna say I'm well versed in Star Wars, but I've definitely spent a lot of time reading stuff. That being said, hopefully I'll be able to keep up.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to start, but before we do that, I'll give everyone a short rundown of the rules. We'll be playing 3 rounds with 3 questions that increase in difficulty as we play. You also have to be quick because you only have 15 seconds to submit an answer. Now, will the Force be on your side against these Ewok enigmas, or will these questions make you fall to the dark side? There's only one way to find out, so let's just jump into it. Round 1, question 1. How old was Yoda when he died? Round 1, question 1. Did this already, guys. All right.
I have a number stuck in my head. Okay, give me the last. Give us the last number.
No, whoever's closer. Okay. I'll do that. All right, guys, so let's show our answers. Colin says, is that 893?
893.
893. And Matt says 835.
Whoa.
The correct answer is 900 years old. So,
oh, we got it.
Colin Long is correct.
Wow, 900, 900 even.
That's crazy.
He never had to die in the movies. He was like, 900 even. I'm not making it much longer. I gotta go now.
That's supposed to be an easy one?
I guess.
Buckle up, everyone. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Question 2. Who is the composer of every Star Wars movie?
Oh, man. Every Star Wars movie? Oh, man, I know him, and I'm just throwing a blank. There's
Colin,
no production questions in here.
I didn't say that. I said there might be a few.
Oh, man. This is not right.
I'm Matt. I know all production trivia.
Oh, okay, the first one. I said I don't know any production trivia.
Oh, okay.
Remember when I did? And I said, I know it all. Sarcasm. I don't know anything.
All right, Matt, we'll reveal your answer. We got Hans Zimmer.
Man.
And then
man,
John
he's
Williams.
right.
And Colin is correct.
Being destroyed.
Some great music.
I want to say right now that this does not mean that Buddy's opinions are better than anybody else's.
I think he does. Whoever wins this trivia gets to have their opinion.
I never would have agreed to this.
I'd be very interested in a Hans Zimmer score of Star Wars. I wonder what that would sound like. Like, would it have the blanc sound?
That'd be pretty cool.
I want to know. Well, we'll leave that for later.
All right. Question 3. What character has appeared in every Star Wars movie?
Every Star Wars movie?
Mr. Star Wars. His biography of Star Wars. We got our answers here.
All right, ready?
Let's reveal the answers,
You
guys.
go first.
Colin says R2D2 and C3PO. Or C3PO.
You said one
CP3.
character. Did you say characters plural?
Said character, however.
Okay. Well, I just
R2D2.
because I thought you would have hit one.
The answer I have written down is R2D2, so both of you have it correct. But
No, we're not doing extra points for
Caleb has informed me that C3PO has also been in every movie, which I'm not entirely sure of.
That's.
I am, because those are the only 2 characters that's shown up in every single one.
There you go.
So.
Colin gets
Still
it for
1
being
point.
sure.
What?
Of this.
You weren't specific. You were like, name the one character.
If it comes down to that,
and
I'll just
Colin was like,
nullify it all.
yeah, I'll name the 2 and disobey the rules and get it right anyway.
None of this
Son.
sass, all right. Round 2, question 1. Everybody loves Chewbacca, but what planet does he come from? Oh, you guys are ready? Spelling has to be correct. But whoever's like closer on this one.
Actually, you know what? I
So
think.
you have to stick-
Stop! You're getting me for spelling? I'm not that smart.
All right, let's reveal the answers, guys. Hey, you guys say Kashyyyk. You're both correct. However, the spelling I have from Google is Kashyyyyk. So 3 Y's.
Wow. So we're both wrong.
No,
and
you're both
Colin
correct. I'll give it to
loses
you.
all points.
You guys knew it.
Now there's an S there. I see an S. You lose.
That's a lie. Question 2. The 4-legged AT-ATs fought on the ice world of Hoth, but what does their name stand for?
Do you know this?
I'm gonna try.
That's all I could hope for on ZT.
Whoa,
I love reading.
Don't be. You like my answer? Let me get that capital T going on here. I gotta be perfect.
That's true.
Okay.
All right, let's reveal the answers.
What you got?
Colin says all-terrain automatic transport. Matthew.
All-terrain
says-
attack things.
All-terrain attack things. No. All right. So Colin was actually the closest. It is. You guys both got all-terrain correct.
Yeah.
But the second word is, or the third word, armored. And
Oh!
transfer. So all-terrain armored
Yeah.
transport.
Okay.
He got transport and all-terrain. I'm gonna have to give this one to Colin.
But I'm making the content here.
I love all-terrain attack things.
Rename it. Let's get a petition going.
Question 3. What limbs did Anakin Skywalker lose in his duel to Obi-Wan on Mustafar? You gotta remember he had the high ground. All right. Are we confident?
Fairly confident.
Let's reveal. All right. Colin says his arm and both legs. Matthew says both legs and his left arm. The correct answer that I have written down is both legs and his left arm.
Oh!
Gotta give it to Matthew.
I
Very specific.
had to think about this the Attack of the Clones and the best fight scene in Star Wars history when he's fighting Count Dooku and he's just doing this and staring and it's like the camera's on their faces and it's just lights. So great, but yeah, I had to think about when he did his thing and he got his first. I had to think about which one that was, and I remembered that he got
I was thinking about
his right arm cut off. Cause I did you see me like doing this? I was like,
I was trying to think of which arm I gave up and just said arm.
Yeah. And I couldn't remember if he actually got his arm cut off, but I remember specifically that what Palpatine's thoughts were after he got his limbs cut off. Like what he first thought when he saw him was he was upset because that means he's never going to be able to do Force lightning because it has to come from like, a regular limb. But then he was like, but it's okay because I can make him the suit that's going to weigh him down. Okay, well, maybe that's a question.
What's going on? Round 3, question 1. How did Han Solo acquire the Millennium Falcon?
Really?
No.
I didn't spell that right, but that's okay.
I think you did. But all right, let's reveal the answers. Hold up. Oh wait. Oh, I'm sorry, Colin. Let's reveal the answers. Colin says he won it in a game of cards against Lando. He cheated with a card up his sleeve.
Yeah.
Matthew says won it in a space poker from Lando Calrissian. The correct answer is he won it. He won the Millennium Falcon from Lando Calrissian in a card game called Sabak. But it is true that he did cheat and had a card up his sleeve. So that's true.
Why would you give it to both of us?
All right, I'll give it to both of you.
Come on, man.
Little bonus point.
I
won't
have to write a novel.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Because Colin's like.
I'll give you that little bonus point for spelling his name correct as well.
Thank you. I'll fight for what I'm owed.
Question 2. What planet does Rey find Luke Skywalker on in The Last Jedi? Your favorite.
Oh, man. Put it out of my head. Oh! I don't remember. It's one word. It's a short word. Tatooine!
Tatooine.
Don't look at me.
I'm allowed to see the answer. I'm not cheating here.
Name it all.
Let's reveal the answers here.
What you got?
Colin Long says
it is. I can't remember what it was called at all.
What does
I put the
Matthew
Florida
say?
Keys.
The Florida Keys. That's where I'd go.
It's a lot of rain.
Yeah.
It wasn't that cold. They had
Too
weird,
bad it's in a galaxy far, far
strange
away.
people there. It's a strange place.
Yes, Colin was correct. It's Octo?
Octo.
The milk thing is accurate. It's everything in Florida. Not the spearing fish. Well, wait a minute. All
right, guys, here we are. Question 3 of round 3, the last question of this ZT Review round. What was the working title of the latest Star Wars release, The Rise of Skywalker? Like the secret hidden production title.
I don't know this one. Know so much useless extended universe knowledge.
I love that.
I know all these things about Darth Vader, and there's like all this canon stuff, and you're just like, none of it matters.
You're writing a lot for just not knowing the answer.
I've got the answer. It's right. It's
correct.
I don't remember the right answer being quite this extensive.
All right, I got it. You do yours first.
All right, Colin. Episode 9, A Duel of the Fates, and then.
All right, I have the right answer.
All right,
obviously.
let's see it, guys.
Skyman 3: Rise of Geriatric Sheev Boy.
Sheev Boy. Matthew Long, or Matthew Long.
We have combined. You are
Green.
correct.
No.
Oh man. But okay, well that's better. Whatever it is.
That's a
whatever
great
it is.
answer. That is a wonderful answer.
Skyman 3.
However, the correct answer that I have written down is Black Diamond. That's what I have written down. But Duel of the Fates does sound familiar.
Duel of the Fates.
It was the title
It was the leaked
of
one.
the leaked script.
alternate script that never got into production, so that's never gonna get a point.
I believe this was like the first hidden thing with. I think they wrote it like years before it came out. So sorry, guys.
No, they wrote that years before it came out. It's almost like they had a plan or something like that. I don't know. Whatever.
Well, all right, everybody. That's all the ZT Review I have for you today. Congratulations, Colin. You beat Matt. You're the Star Wars master.
I'm sure my opinion is validated now. The Last Jedi is a fantastic film, despite what Matthew may say. You know.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. Matthew Reed's opinions no longer matter when it comes to Star Wars.
Sorry, Matthew.
What are you writing?
Anyway, continue.
TLJ bad. No, you're wrong. Colin says no.
At least you're not acknowledging that you're the winner anymore. Because you lost.
Just a Well, let me know how many you got right. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions, find me on Twitter at ZTVGoofingOff and be sure to use the hashtag ZTRivia. Until next time, see you later, everybody.
Becca, can you come back? We have a break bit to do, like now, so can... Oh. Are you serious? Is this... Oh. Okay.
If you like what you see here on Goofing Off, be sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter.
Hey, you piece of
Akron After Hours is a show on ZTV. It is a sketch comedy show that makes people laugh. Ha ha ha. It is a fun, light-hearted time, and everyone on the show loves it. Just look at the producer. He loves every second of being on Akron After Hours. Be sure to keep up to date on all of the laughs this semester.
You're watching ZTV.
Becca? Onward.
To where?
You heard me. Onward.
To where? Also, why are you bossing me around like that? I don't approve of this tone of yours.
I said, head onward.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Movie snobs.
Oh, you're going onward. Oh, okay, well then here's Movie Snobs up next.
Yes, onward. Greetings, humble viewers. Cometh and see my bountiful program where I like it when it's a little funny at the beginning, but I don't think I can make fun of Disney because they're gonna strike me down faster than they're gonna strike this video for copyright. So can we just... My name is Caleb Morgan, and as you can see, I am very happy to bring you back the beloved segment of Movie Snobs. You know, I would never consider myself a snob. Okay, maybe I would, but I'm really excited to talk about all the big releases coming out this spring. Some big blockbusters have came and went, with the unlikely hit Sonic the Hedgehog, which is a great movie, being one of the top grossing movies to start the year. But in this episode, we're not talking about a fast blue hedgehog, we're talking about a smart blue elf. Two of them, in fact, and that's right, I spoke in ye old English for a reason. This episode, we're talking about Pixar's Onward. Onward is Pixar's 22nd feature film, and at this point, the studio is very well known in the cultural zeitgeist. We all know they have some of the best animation, innovative story concepts, classic characters, and well, make us cry. Not me though. Okay, yeah, I cry too. It's been nearly 25 years since Woody and Buzz went to infinity and beyond, dazzled us with revolutionary computer animation, and met a member of the Mount Rushmore of creepy kids in movies. Despite having a reputation to not miss, Pixar has struggled as of late. They've remained financially successful, but in my opinion, they lost their creative spark that got them to the top spot in animation in the first place. In the entire decade of the 2010s, they only had 4 movies that weren't sequels, and one of those was The Good Dinosaur, which doesn't count. And while some sequels were good and others not so good, I was very happy to see that they were releasing an original Pixar film to start off their new decade. But even with this return to original film, Onward has remained far under the radar, and I'm not entirely sure why. The film stars Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, two of Marvel's hottest commodities, and follows a decently creative premise that basically asks the question, what if Middle-earth had millennials too? I get that this isn't the most original world that Pixar has crafted, but I find it somewhat baffling that this movie hasn't garnered the attention of, say, an Inside Out or Coco. The film follows the trials and tribulations of a teenage elf voiced by Holland who struggles with the awkward time of being a, well, teenage elf. His brother Barley, voiced by Pratt, is a boisterous, unabashed nerd that can sometimes come off as an embarrassment to his family and his already socially impaired brother. The film begins with an introduction that essentially informs the audience that in the past the world was filled with magic and wonder, but then all the creatures thought magic was too hard and created a modern world almost identical to our current human world. And while this premise on paper sounds like a tired meme a grandma would post where wizards turn to their smartphones over their magic wands, one of the biggest miracles this movie pulls off is making that story element not annoying. against all odds, Pixar doesn't beat you over the head with the fact that the digital age is making us lazy and stupid. In fact, for a movie with every mythical creature at its disposal, like mermaids, pixies, centaurs, wizards, and unicorns, that are somehow basically raccoons in this world, even though everyone else is not much different than a unicorn and can speak coherently. I mean, anyway, they all inhabit a world full of mythical creatures, and this movie doesn't even spend too much time indulging over the mixture of lazy millennials and mythical beings. Them not overdoing it with the jokes in there is a good thing. I'm glad I didn't have to see a scene where Cyclops can't open its iPhone because they only have one eye, or a troll is an actual online troll, or something else. And while there are plenty of times in this film that they do make jokes like that, I think they make them in the most tasteful and genuinely funny way that they could ever make them. Given the excess that they could have laid on, I'm just impressed with their restraint. Even with every Middle-earth being that they could use, I like that most of this movie is almost a buddy movie between Holland's character Ian, his brother Barley, and my man, I forgot to mention the main thing that happens that kickstarts this whole movie. You know, the dad legs. You know, the dad legs. Yes, this movie has a dead dad, and for a trend that seems to be in a lot of teen and family movies nowadays, Onward of all movies is the most interesting and well-executed version of a dead dad story, if it's okay to call it that. Early on in the movie, not having his father there eats away at Ian on his 16th birthday, where he is celebrating yet another birthday without his father. And folks, if you thought that other Pixar movies were sad, I personally think this is among their saddest and definitely one of the most mature children's movies I've ever seen. There's a scene early on where Ian plays a tape in a boombox of his father that I won't spoil, but it would be emotional in an adult drama, let alone a movie that a lot of kids under 10 are gonna see. I was truly shocked with the amount of detail they talk about a parent's death. I mean, I know Pixar's movies very well, and I know Coco was extremely heavy at times too, but this one, it hit hard, and as they say, it hit different. Barley's lines talking about how his dad was hooked up to tubes, not wanting to see him when he was in the hospital, and the general dynamic between the half-reincarnated version of their father who cannot hear, I mean, it's almost like a ghost story in a way, where the children get one last chance to interact with their deceased dad. But, I mean, it's not like Ghost Dad. It's way better than Ghost Dad. And while the emotions are much more intense than I expected, I want to say that the comedy is also much better than it needed to be. And I know that jokes and references that I don't expect to see in a children's movie obviously enhance the humor. It's also just genuinely funny. But come on, for a kids movie to have a scene that includes jokes about lengthy gap years, tax evasion, biker gangs, annoying stepdads, and other content that I don't want to spoil yet, I found myself constantly laughing in shock and awe. And speaking of things that left me in awe, this movie looks stunning. People freaked out about the cat in Toy Story 4 looking like a real cat with all the dust particles flying around and whatnot, but there are countless scenes in Onward that leave me with the same amazement, leading me to think that this is truly one of the most impressive pieces of computer animation that I've ever seen. I mean, I personally think more people should be talking about this. Most of the movie takes place at night, and among things in animation that is technically difficult, it is water, fur, and lighting at night. And in Onward, it is often accomplishing all three of these feats at the same time, and it looks incredible and seamless. And in general, with the 80s aesthetic, fun creature designs, vast array of settings, this movie would be a treat to watch with the sound off. All around, Onward surpasses all the odds. Oddward, you could say. For an under-the-radar movie from one of animation's biggest players, it is laugh out loud until the people next to you get annoyed funny, drop-dead gorgeous to look at, and a very poignant piece on dealing with loss and appreciating your loved ones while they're here. All of this comes together to create one of my favorite theater-going experiences this year, and even got a tear out of ye olde me at the end. Overall, I mean, I give this movie a very strong 8 out of 10. And if you're curious as to whether or not you should take anything I just said with a grain of salt, I wanted to give you all my complete ranking of all 22 Pixar movies. But I mean, if you don't agree with me, you can go Yeah, that's right. What? You disagree? You think my review is whack now because it's not the same as yours? Well, I'll tell you what to do about it. I'll tell you exactly what you can do about that. You can tweet me at ZTV Goofing Off using the hashtag MovieSnobs and tell me how you really feel about what movie I should review next. Please, I dare you. I double dare you. That's what I thought. We'll be right back after this break.
If you like what you see here on Goofing Off, be sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter.
Hello and welcome to another episode of 300 Seconds of Science.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey there, Scienteers,
And welcome to 30 Seconds of Science.
Hey science lovers! Welcome back to another 300 Seconds of Science. Hi science lovers! What is up, fellow wanderers?
Watch 300 Seconds of Science on 45-1 and follow their social media accounts at ZTV 300 Seconds of Science.
Now go out, enjoy life, and stay curious.
You're watching ZTV.
So Caleb, did you know D&D got a new race added to its Rolodex?
Becca, I've never played D&D in my life.
You're telling me you've never had the urge to create a character in a role-playing dice game?
No. I can't say that I have.
Well, then I guess here's Cameron talking about grungs on Dungeon Delver up next.
Why would I know that?
Hello everyone, and welcome to Dungeon Delvers. My name's Cameron Blend, and today I'll be talking about Dungeons & Dragons' newest playable race, the Grung, as well as the newest Unearthed Arcana, which brings in a new subclass for the Artificer, Druid, and Ranger. So many of you who have never traversed the jungles of Chult are probably wondering, what are Grung? Well, to put simply, they're frog people. To go into a little bit more detail, the Grung are a very lawful people that share many similarities to our real-world poison dart frogs. The reason I say they are lawful is because they are always lawful evil, lawful neutral, or lawful good. So no matter what side of the alignment they are on, they won't outright attack you unless they have a solid reason to do so. Now, this isn't to say you won't find a chaotic evil Grung or one that is true neutral, it's just that their societies usually have the influence of making them some sort of lawful alignment. Another unique feature of the Grung is their rapid growth. They reach adulthood in a single year and can live up to 50. Additionally, they're amphibious, so you'll never have to worry about drowning. However, they are water dependent, so they have to do that water bucket challenge once a day so they don't gain any levels of exhaustion. They are also incredibly aware of their surroundings, and to top off all of their abilities, they are also naturally poisonous. So anyone they touch instantly gets poisoned. This poison isn't very strong and can easily be overcome with a Constitution saving throw of 12. But at low levels, this is devastating, as well as getting past certain monsters' legendary resistances. The only problem is this poison goes through clothes and can't be turned off, meaning a simple handshake can really mess up someone's day. This race is really interesting to me and many other people. Combo this with a monk class, and every punch you can do can possibly poison your enemy. 4 of these punches in one turn is pretty devastating, and if you multiclass this with fighter just for the action surge, that's a grand total of 8 punches. If your target isn't poisoned after that, you might as well just give up on poisoning them. The only downside that I can see with this race is their short life, dependency on water, and the fact that the common people fear them. But that's the beauty of Dungeons & Dragons. Getting over these things and getting society to see you for the hero you are, or proving their fears right and showing them how evil you really can be. Now, onto the Unearthed Arcana. Unearthed Arcana is playtest material that Wizards of the Coast wants to show fans to try out and see what works and what doesn't work. We saw plenty of this before Xanathar's Guide to Everything, so perhaps that means we'll be seeing Xanathar 2, Electric Boogaloo. So with this installment, we got 3 new subclasses. For Artificer, we got the Armor. In this subclass, you get to build Power Armor, giving it 1 of 6 special abilities, and later, gain 2 of them at once. So enjoy being Iron Man in D&D. Next up, we get the Circle of the Stars for Druid. With this subclass, you get the option to become a constellation instead of an animal. Each constellation comes with a special ability, and you get to choose what constellation you become when you make the transformation. Next up is the Ranger with their subclass, Fey Wanderer. Ranger has had a bad rap for the longest time as being the weakest out of all classes in D&D, since it draws on 3 classes and doesn't really specialize in anything. So it makes sense that the subclasses from Xanathar and the Unearthed Arcana are incredibly powerful when compared to the originals. This one gives Rangers the ability to resist being charmed or frightened, as well as giving them extra psychic damage. The psychic damage is increased if you use any of their spell slots. These psychic abilities don't stop there. They can also force enemies to fear them and take even more psychic damage, and finally, they can turn completely invisible to a single creature. And this isn't true invisibility. They use their mind-altering psychic powers to essentially make their enemy's brain unable to process that they are looking at the ranger. So no magical sight can see them. It's an incredibly unique way to hide from an enemy that has true sight or even blind sight. Overall, I love these new subclasses, aside from the druid. The druid doesn't really seem like it fits. Druids are guardians of natures and aspects of it. They are the fire that burns down old forests and lets the ashes bring to life a new healthy forest. I get stars and camping and stuff like that, but that doesn't really feel like it should be a druid thing. By far, my favorite is the ranger. They are finally getting some love and ways to make their attacks have a little bit more oomph to them. Very few things have defenses against psychic power, so it's a pretty reliable subclass. But what do you guys think? Is the Grung a race that should be nerfed a bit, or is it perfect just the way it is? Which subclass is your favorite? Why don't you let me know by tweeting me at ZTVGoofingOff, and be sure to use that hashtag Dungeon Delvers. Until next time, I've been Karen Blenton, and I'll see you guys later.
You know, Becca, I'm glad to see that the strike is over.
You know, I've been doing some thinking, and I'm kind of glad too. I've realized it isn't about who Juan deems the best host, it's about who Drew deems the best host.
Oh.
Yeah, well, sorry to burst your bubble, Becca, but Caleb's my favorite host.
Well, on that note, thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for extra content. I'd like to see you do a social media tag out that good. Until next time, I'm Becca Tyler, undesirable host.
And I'm Caleb Morgan, favorite host. And thank you for taking the time to goof off with us.
We'll do that next.
Not so popular. Is that about me in high school?
Relatable. Look at
I
us.
think I
We're
just
being
wrote my
so
next
funny.
post bit.
Colin?
And Caleb was kung fu fighting. Ha! Those kicks were fast as lightning.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. Do you want to gain experience in video production, professional social media, or working with real clients? Visit the UA School of Communications online or follow us on social media to learn more. ZTV, make media, make a difference.